DDD. I'm so excited to be here. I don't know how many DDDs I've been to. I started my tech journey in 2015, which I didn't know. That's the year that DDD started. I reckon I've been to like 6 or 7. This is my first time on stage with you all, so I'm very excited to spend a little bit of time with you this morning. So to start, I want you to think about the number of rules you had to follow to get here this morning. And some of those might be written rules. They might be following road rules or swiping on with your smart rider, following parking laws, following the code of conduct that we all made sure that we had a read of this morning before we came in. But there's also a whole heap of unwritten rules of social interactions and how we talk to people and all of these little unwritten rules that we process in the back of our head, but maybe we aren't super conscious of. So we followed a lot of rules to get here. And today, I'm going to be talking about my dress code. And yes, this entire talk, thank you. This entire talk is an elaborate reason to share a pun. So this dress, if you can't see it from the back of the room, I do have another slide with another couple of photos on it. This dress was made for me by one of my alumni at She Codes Australia, Nina Karasik, and her slow fashion startup, Made Apt. And you'll see Nina on a stage a little bit later this afternoon. But every line of code on this dress is written by people in the She Codes community. So it's like the most custom dress that a person could ever ask for. And today what I'm going to be sharing is I'm going to be sharing some snippets of code that are from this dress. I'm going to shoehorn some analogies in about how we can build culture and community. Are we ready for that? Yeah? Amazing. So we're going to start off by a little bit about me. Again, code that actually exists on my dress. So Cupcake Queen, age youthful as heck. Favorite color, pink. Favorite animal, the reversible octopus that we use at all of the She Codes events. And a real neat trait, being a champion for women in tech. How nice it is that someone wrote this about me and I've got it printed on a dress. Delightful. I think that tells you pretty much everything that you need to know about me, but just in case you want to know a little bit more, like that wonderful welcome from Amy, I have been working on She Codes Australia for just over 10 years now, so we unofficially celebrated our anniversary at the beginning of the year, but did it really, really quietly. I'm not from a technical background. I was trying to teach myself how to code 10 years ago and found that the communities that existed weren't very beginner-friendly or very female-friendly. It's changed a lot since then, and it's amazing looking at the audience right now and seeing so many amazing, diverse faces. But that was the community that existed at the time. Since then, we've taught more than 15,000 people all across the country, and thousands of women have written their first line of code with us, which is a privilege and an honour to be part of this community. Thank you. A little surprising round of applause. This is me, this is baby Kate back in 2014. I just finished my university degree in something completely unrelated, commerce degree. Fast forwarding through to 2014, where I got the privilege to be at the Prime Minister's house, which feels like such a flex to say, at his house at the Lodge in Canberra, and I had asked him what the future of technology looks like for Australia and what we're going to be doing in the next 5 to 10 years to safeguard Australia's digital future. We didn't get very long to talk. I think I had about 2 minutes with the Prime Minister. But really what I think is that we should invite him here next year, because I think this is the future of technology. And what we're going to be talking about today in the next frontier, we're going to learn a lot about how we can do that a little bit better. So you know me a little bit now. Are we ready for some shoehorned in analogies about some code? Yes. So we're going to first start about defaults. So just like in code, our defaults shape how everything is behaves unless we override it with something a little bit more specific. And that's exactly the same when we're looking at workplace culture. So we have a default status of what our culture might look like, and then we have a whole heap of different things that might tweak how we think about our culture in our communities. I want you to take a second to talk to the person sitting next to you about if you were building a website, what background color would you use and what font family would you use? And you can be as specific or as vague as you like, but you've got like 30 seconds to talk to the person sitting next to you. Alrighty. Hopefully we had a chance to meet somebody else and have our first, possibly our first conversation of the day and get to know somebody else around us. I'm curious, can you put up your hand if you said the exact same color and the exact same font as the person you spoke to? Oh, okay. Really interestingly, I can see there's a bunch of my alumni that are sitting here, and like a bunch of them put up their hands. But across the room, I think that was like maybe 20 had the exact same font and color as the person sitting next to them in a crowd of, what do we say, 1,000. And so what that tells me, right, is that if we're designing something with everyone in mind and we're looking at really diverse, different people in the room, that we've all got a slightly different perspective and a slightly different viewpoint. And we're never going to be able to build something or create something that works for absolutely everyone. So we need to think about what these default settings are and what the layers underneath it are that we can customize an experience and customize a culture to everyone. I looked up a dress code for the purposes of this talk, and this is literally the first image that came up. I find it really fascinating because the men are all in the exact same outfit. If you zoom in, there's like a micro shade of difference in color. There's like a slight navy blue, but everything else is just black. The women, there's a little bit more diversity, but still, this is not what I would consider a dress code, but anyway, this is what came up on Google. And the thing about a dress code, so it was my birthday last week. I threw a very, very, very last-minute birthday party. And I think just about every single attendee messaged me beforehand, being like, oh, Kate, what should I wear? And I'm like, I invited you at a party with like 4 days' notice. Honestly, if you're there in the room, amazing. I don't care what you wear. But there's this little level of anxiety of like, I don't want to be the person that looks different. I don't want to be the person who lets someone down because I'm not wearing the thing that everybody else is wearing. I don't want to come in full sequins and turn up and everybody else is in like beige, because I just don't want to be stared at, right? And so putting some of these rules in, like our dress code, can actually give a level of like comfort and stability of, okay, cool, I know what I'm working in here. I know that I'm safe here, that I'm turning up in the right things, that I'm doing what's expected of me. And that's really important when we're building a culture, is thinking about those sorts of things, those little safeguards and rules that we can wrap around people so they feel like they're in the right place. But where does that kind of go a little bit wrong? So I got this message a couple of weeks ago from a university student who was just starting her journey into hopefully getting into a technical role. And she asked me, she wanted to know where my sparkly boots are from, and I'm wearing them again for you today, saying that she would love to get a pair just like these so that she could also have sparkly boots. But she told me that she worries no end having to wear a fully black attire for a job interview, or perhaps navy blue. It's taken me years to settle on wearing a navy blue jacket for an interview. And I can't bring myself to wear a brightly coloured jacket because I'm told that conservative look is always preferred to being bright and colourful. And this makes me really sad. This makes me really sad as a person who wears hot pink basically all the time. This is as conservative as I get. And this is the shimmeriest, sparkliest outfit that I own, which you'll hear a little bit more about why that is later. But we're teaching people that they have to conform to being this beige version of themselves, and particularly in job interviews, that they have to be a watered down section. So we absolutely need rules. We need rules that people can feel comfortable showing up in, but we also need a little bit of give so that people can be themselves. So building culture is complicated, right? Culture involves so many things in building a culture. It's the behaviours, it's assumptions, it's our gender and religion, it's the way that we show up. There are so many things that bring together culture. But culture is also just really simple. All culture is every interaction that you have with somebody else. No big deal. It's just every interaction that we have with someone else. It's easy. It's easy building a culture. And I have a couple of stories that I want to share in building a culture. So it really is just making sure that all of your words match your actions, and that trickling down that your culture is the same all across the organisation or the community that you work in. And so I also want to talk about exceptions and errors and how we handle that. Because at the end of the day, people are going to make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. And in tech, we focus so much on making sure that we've handled all of the edge cases. There's a million edge cases in our code, right? The user is always going to do something completely different to what we think the user is going to do. They're going to input something really random. They're going to go somewhere really crazy. And so we need to be able to handle our errors and exceptions really elegantly. So this snippet of code written by one of my alumni. So she's got in here fallback errors. We've got some console error messages so that we can really trap and maintain and make sure that we've caught all of those different errors. But when we're thinking about our communities, how are we managing to capture and make sure that we've got an elegant solution for all of those different errors? In Googling for this, or in researching for this, I was thinking about 404 pages, so that your user goes to somewhere really good. And the rabbit hole that I went down, I was looking at fun 404 pages, and then I think I found something even better, which is this. This is HTTP cats, and there is just a cat for every different response code. A couple of my favorites is the 418, I'm a teapot. We've got a cat in a teapot. I also quite like this range not satisfied. Our cat can't quite get out of its box. But anyway, I thought we'd take a little pause. Yeah, I know. Get a bonus pun just for free on that one to talk about that. But anyway, there's a couple of stories that I actually want to share about handling errors and exceptions. And so this first one, a couple of weeks ago, I was at a conference and there was a panel discussion, like a fireside chat, between the founder of an AI company and the host. And the question that this guy was asked is, do we need guardrails on AI usage, or is it just a free-for-all? And I was like, oh gosh, I'm really interested to see what he says here, because I hope he says guardrails. But it really shocked me. He was like, no, we don't need guardrails, because that's going to limit people from being creative and trying stuff. I think it's just a free-for-all until AI makes mistakes, and then we can figure out a way to make a better solution after that. And I was sitting there like, what do you mean we don't need guardrails? We obviously need some guardrails. And because we know that there's limitations, right? There's limitations in AI, there's limitations in all technology, particularly around security, privacy, and bias in the data that we're working with. And to me, that feels like we don't have the exceptions and errors that we're going to be caught really gracefully to make sure that our communities are surviving and thriving. In a similar vein, my second story for you is one of the women who graduated from my She Codes bootcamp. She got her first technical job, and she was telling me that she pushed code, went straight to production, and it broke the production deployed version of their product. Yeah, that sucks. Who's been there? Yeah, cool. I wish she could have seen that, by the way, because that was a good third of the room that's like, yeah, I broke production. But she was devastated, obviously. It was very early into her role. She hadn't been there for very long, and she broke a live deployed version of something. Devastated, and oh, it must be me because I'm a junior, and that's why I broke the thing in production. But to me, I'm like, well, that feels like we just haven't handled systems elegantly so that we've got some safeguards in place that you can't just push something straight to deploy and just let's hope for the best. And that we haven't got the safeguards to be able to support our juniors really well, because we need that, especially when people are learning, to make sure that they feel safe to be able to try stuff, make mistakes, and we're always going to make mistakes, but be able to do that in a safe environment. It's not her error, that is an error of a system failure. And the last one, I'm going to let you pause for that for a second. The last one, and this might make some people really mad, because this was only about 10 years ago. One of the women who applied for my bootcamp, she wrote in her application form that she was working in the mining industry. She'd gone up on site for the very first time. And she wrote me this: being the only female, there was a lot of challenges and issues that I had to navigate. The first being that the nearest female toilets were 50 kilometers away. So that's half an hour to an hour drive, at best, and we're probably on a dirt road, so that might take a little longer. And no one had considered how I might get there. So I think it's kind of bad enough that the bathrooms are really, really far away, because half an hour to an hour drive is a long way, but no one had thought about it. Absolutely no one had thought about it before she got up there. And in this, so we've got these exceptions to the rule. She was the first, and the first time, there's always going to be challenges, but we need that conscious thought of those little safety nets that we can catch people so that they don't get this, they don't completely fall. And this was only 10 years ago. We have come a long way, but not quite fast enough. So a thriving community really needs to have the systems that we make sure that we can capture some of those errors and exceptions a little bit more elegantly, because things are always, absolutely always going to break. So we've written a few little snippets of code. We've handled our errors and exceptions. What are we going to do next? We're obviously going to push our code. And so my next little snippet for you, and I'm actually very glad, because on this dress there's about 7 different commit messages, which tells me that we have taught our She Codes alumni very, very well, that we commit early and we commit often, and we have good commit messages, helpful commit messages. This one is my favorite, so print hello world, where most of us started our tech journey. And with those unexceptional worlds, I had my whole eyes open to a whole new world. And as I was writing this, I really couldn't help but sing a whole new world. But I'm not going to do that for you today. I heard there's an opera singer later, so we'll leave it to them. But I have chosen to include a commit message in my next piece of this analogy, because a commit is a contribution. And in the way that we're committing our code, we can actually visually see every contribution that is made to a project. And so this is the commit history for our tutorials repo, which is outsourced to a whole heap of amazing mentors in the She Codes community. So we've got Amy Kaepernick up there, Ben Ans, we've got Ben. I've written a bunch of commits. There was a whole long list that didn't fit nicely on my screenshot. But when I was thinking about this, having this way that we can track and recognize the impact that people have made on our code really translates really nicely to having a way that we can track and measure the impact that people have made in an organization, in a community, and really recognizing all of those individual outcomes. Because at the heart of it, that's what people want. People want to make sure that the thing that they're doing is for a shared purpose and vision, and that we have a way to recognize the small little elements that make up a bigger whole. And I also really love this because the word commit also has a double meaning. Being in a community is a commitment. Being in part of a culture is a commitment. There's a bunch of people who might think that a community just kind of happens. It doesn't really just happen. It's an active choice to be part of a community. It's an active choice to community build. We need to commit. And so my question for all of you today, while I have my second commit message, is what will you contribute and what will you commit to today? So your contribution today might look like asking a question. It might look like being really curious. It might look like clapping really loudly for the speakers that you liked and enjoyed. It might look like talking to somebody else and building a new connection or making people feel good. It might be bringing some energy. It might be posting on the hashtag DDD Perth social media so that our volunteer team can see what you've all been up to across the day. There are so many ways that you can commit, but it starts with a commitment of showing up of, I'm going to do a thing today and I'm going to be part of something bigger than me today. So I want you to have a think about what your commitment is going to be. A few years ago, I coined this term, or my team coined this term, the cupcake effect. And stick with me here. I have a point. If you haven't been to a She Codes event, cupcakes are a big part of what we do. I feel like about 50% of the questions that I answer at a workshop are cupcake related. Our football teams might have a mascot. For She Codes, our symbol is the cupcake. And the cupcake effect is sometimes literally cupcakes, but it's also the way that something makes you feel. So our cupcake is this symbol that you're part of something. It's got your logo on it, my logo on it. It's sprinkles and branding and glitter and sparkles. It looks good on Instagram. You can post a photo and everyone knows, oh, you were at that thing because you got the cupcake. I've seen some interactions in the past where people have said, oh, I came along to one of Kate's events. And then the call and response to that is, oh, did you get a cupcake? So cupcakes are a huge part of what we do. And it's for lots of reasons, but one of them is because we all want to be part of something bigger than us. And having these symbols and these things that we can gravitate behind means that we're part of something bigger than just a single person. And I've got some really interesting stats for you. There's a really dramatic shift in the way that we're making purchasing decisions. A survey of almost 2,000 business professionals found that more than 46% of those business professionals said that customer service is their top priority for the next 5 years, which is almost half. And I find that super interesting when we're looking at this from a tech perspective. I feel like everyone's talking about outsourcing their customer support or automating it or letting an agent run their customer service, when half of professionals are saying that is a top priority for them. That same study found that 86% of customers would pay a premium for something with a good experience that goes with it. So that's almost everyone. Everyone wants to have a good, positive experience. And so this is where, the cupcake effect for us, so it literally is cupcakes, but I also think a lot about the music and the lighting and the types of name badges and the way that something makes you feel, because it is a feeling, showing up and learning something, being part of a community. It's not an action, it's a feeling. That's why I love DDD, because I feel like they've got cupcake effect written all over this place. So much cupcake effect, because it really is that feeling. And you can see a little bit in the photos and things that I use what that looks like. Because the reality is that people will remember how you made them feel so long after they remember exactly what you said or what you did. They'll remember how it made them feel. So, yeah, I do believe that a lot of why we've been successful is this focus on the cupcake effect. To close out, I have some rapid-fire little rules, because we started the day with rules, and so we're going to talk about a couple more rules that I'm going to set for you today. So the first one is that it is okay to feel really stupid, particularly while we're learning today. It's okay to feel really stupid. Building a community is hard. Being part of a community is hard. Showing up for things is hard. And it's okay to feel really stupid. This particular GIF has been in every slide deck that we've ever done at Chico's for the last 10 years, so I had to include it today. Someone told me at my very first workshop that learning to code was like being a cat dressed like a shark on a Roomba being followed by a duck. I still don't know what that means. But here we are. We're going to be the cat, the shark, the Roomba, the duck, something at some point today. I also want to set a challenge that today should be an acronym-free zone, which maybe is ironic given that the name of the conference is DDD. I'll let that one slide. I'll let you have AI as well, because we're not going to say artificial intelligence all day long today. But otherwise, it is an acronym-free zone, and that's my challenge for all of the other speakers that are going to be gracing this stage later this morning. Because to build inclusion, we really need to start with the language that we use. And culture is built on that series of constant interactions, and language, words, matter to that. And my last rule for you is to bring the sparkle. So this quite literally is the sparkliest dress that I own. There is so many references to Kate and sparkle and shimmer and shine and pink all over this dress. And the last code snippet that I wanted to share with you today, if the internet gods will let this happen, is this one. It is so much easier to sparkle when you're with other people that are also sparkling. If you're the only person sparkling, it is really intimidating and overwhelming. But if you're a part of a whole group of people that are showing up with their little sparkliness, it is much easier. If the base style sheet of our industry was written decades ago, and it was written decades and decades ago, maybe it's time for a reset of our CSS and a reset of our culture. And my challenge for all of you is to help me be part of that, and together we can build this inclusive community of developers today to solve for the problems of tomorrow. Thank you so much. I will come back to my closing slides.